Welcome to Wine Dine Combine, where the world of wines unfolds right before your eyes. Today we are with Azzopardi, the owner of VINTAGE'82, and one of personal friends of ours. Andrew, good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you too, Nino. Thank you for having me on the show. Looking forward to this.
As we are.
Always.
Andrew, we meet today to try some nice wine. Right now we are already half the way through a bottle of Pouilly Fumé.
We're already having fun.
What can you tell us about this?
I started off with super premium wine. One of the most premium wines that I actually have, and it's one of my babies. So this is a Pouilly Fumé from Loire Valley, and it is made by a certain Patrick Baron de la Doucette, and he is also known as the King of Loire. So when people mention Patrick Baron de la Doucette, he is known for his Sauvignon Blanc. And what's fascinating about this specific Sauvignon Blanc is that it ages 15-20 years, and that is when it actually is at its peak to drink. So unlike most Sauvignon Blancs that should be drunk within 2-3 years maximum, this guy doesn't release the wine before 2 years, and it only keeps getting better for the next 8-10 years, up to 15-20 years. Even more interesting, wines that age are usually wines in oak. This has no oak, so it's extremely intense, extremely powerful, and can age at the same time. It's one of my favorite wines.
It's fermented on the lees, no?
It is fermented on the lees, 100%. So it spends 6 months fermented on the lees, and they keep stirring the lees to give it that structure that will help it to age.
And the region helps as well with terroir, Upper Loire Valley.
You can't get much better terroir than Loire Valley, especially Pouilly Fumé.
Cheers to this.
Cheers. Looking forward. Super intense, extremely fresh. It's still a bit of a baby, huh? This is a 2020
One you can
vintage.
drink on its own or with some seafood.
I personally prefer it with food. I prefer most wines with food, but you can't drink it on its own. It's delicious on its own.
Really
But I think with seafood, it will really improve. I find that most wines need to be with food. You need to combine it. The acid in your stomach and the acid in the wine needs to be softened with food. It kind of arranges.
Yeah, it
cleans your palate.
As we were speaking before, it kills that acidity.
Exactly.
Once you're eating a bit, because this wine is acidic.
Very much.
This wine
so.
is fresh.
Very much so.
Even though it was fermented on the lees, but it's still very, very fresh.
Yep.
Now, you grew up in the family of food lovers, and
I did.
how did you grow your passion for wine? I mean, was there something from your early childhood, or how it started?
Well, my father used to actually make wine. It was obviously wine back in the 70s, 80s. So before I was born, he was already making wine just for fun. He started off as a kid making wine and playing around. And then in the early 80s, when I was a little kid, he used to make wine in the garage with family. So I used to take part in, pressing the grapes and getting
fun stuff.
You get introduced to winemaking. Now, for me, that was just Sunday fun. But I'm from a family of food lovers, so you're never far from the kitchen anyway. Then I got into restaurants, and then after that, I got maybe sidetracked a bit into business. But wine kept pulling me back. There was something, this passion I have for wine. The flavors for wine just do it for me. I don't know what it is.
So, you started off by selling wines to the super yachts and yachts, if I'm not mistaken. So, when did you start? How it started actually? Did you have some friends, that you started selling with? Or?
So what I did was I actually opened a business on behalf of another company, and we opened the business targeting super yachts. We saw that there was a gap in the market. These super yachts need somebody to assist them when they need fine wines. So usually fine wines is pretty much at the bottom of their list till they need it. And once they need it, they want specific wines. These super yacht owners want the very best wines from the very best vintages. And usually the best wines and the best vintages are hard to come by. And that is where we come in to assist them in getting these specific wines. You can't go to any random wine shop or supermarket to get your hands on these wines. You need to have a large database of suppliers, international suppliers that can help you get these wines pretty much on the fly. And then very much a logistics game.
If you match them like that, you know.
Exactly. But the yacht could be anywhere around the world, and I'd receive a WhatsApp saying, listen, we're in Monaco, we're in Caribbean, we are wherever, Antibes, we need a shipment of wine, can you please send as fast as possible? And sometimes these wines are, let's say I get very jealous on the wines that sometimes I sell.
Actually, that part of your work influenced me to choose this location for our show today. And we had a nice setup, you know, overlooking the Virgo waterfront. What we can see from the cameras, I'm not really sure.
Lots of my clients just a few hundred meters away.
As a courtesy of Mykonos Bahamas, we are here as well in the restaurant, having these amazing views. What can you actually tell me about global market? When you created Vintage 82, you transitioned from food to wine. What is the wine for you comparing to gourmet experiences? How do you see this wine? For me, they cannot go without each other. But did you see that maybe there is a better chance of making better profits, or you are there just because of your passion for wines mostly?
I think it's mainly because of my passion for wines, but they're interlinked. I don't know anybody, I honestly don't know anybody that loves wine and doesn't love food. They're just linked. Together, they go together, and that's why I enjoy meeting. Wine is food, and wine needs food, and I think wine helps in getting the best out of the food and vice versa. So sometimes the food actually helps to make the wine taste better, and sometimes the wine helps to make the food taste better. The only issue is when you get that wrong. When you get that wrong,
you get the whole experience,
and then the whole experience has gone south for you, and that is something that I find a little bit disappointing, especially in Malta. We often get the wine wrong. We've got a very delicate cuisine, especially grilled Mediterranean fish, and sometimes we'd pair wine that overpowers this. We'd go for some Primitivo, Nero d'Avola. No disrespect to those wines. Great with steak, but is it going to overpower your fish? It may be fine if that's what you like, but generally speaking, it's going to clash. So, for me, I think it just elevates the food.
There is some wines, like last time we tried one of Pinot Noirs that you are bringing to Malta, which actually was so crisp and light that could easily go with some prawns, with some fried prawns, tempura or octopus. Octopus would be very, very good with it.
Yep.
Scallops as well.
Scallops. You know. I'm a big fan of Pinot Noir. So Pinot Noir, and recently I've rediscovered Beaujolais as well. So I think Beaujolais is one of these underrated regions. The Gamay grape has a lot of similarities with Pinot Noir. The only difference, or maybe the biggest difference between Pinot Noir and Gamay, is that you find Pinot Noir, good Pinot Noir, starting from 50-60 euros, and you can find a good Gamay or a super premium Gamay at 30 euros. And it's still pretty much undiscovered. It's still fresh, it's still crisp, lots of terroir-driven Beaujolais. And this is where then my passion comes out. It's not just premium wine, it's not just brands. It's not all about the brand. You can have a premium wine that is relatively unknown. And that's
I like experimenting as well, you know. Sometimes you find very, very decent wine for a low price, you know, comparing to something that is branded and pushed through the marketing, you know. So
yes,
I mean,
very much so.
All fairness, I do marketing as well, you know, but these kind of things, you know, always push me to look forward, you know, like a kid in the sweet shop. When I go in the wine shop, it's like, you know, you cannot kick me out for an hour. So
exactly. But I find, and then there's a bit of a price bracket. So wines that are priced, I'm generalizing slightly, but wines that are priced less than 10 euros, if they're big brands, I know that a good 30, 40, 50% of that price, of the 10 euros, is actually going towards branding. instead of towards the wine. So what is the actual value of the wine? So this is where it gets a little bit sticky.
Yes.
And then when you go to wines that are 20, 30 euros, even if they are big brands, it's a much smaller percentage that's going actually towards the branding and the marketing. So you're getting a better bang for your buck. So I would rather spend 20 euros on a branded wine than 10 euros on a branded wine, because I know that there's going to be less towards the branding and more actually towards the wine.
Yes, but then when you're getting into unbranded wines, the guys try to keep their prices down so they can penetrate the market, start somewhere,
100%.
get tried, and sometimes you can really be surprised with low-cost wine having a really, really good
For sure.
taste. And
For sure.
it happened to me in the past, it's happening all the time. Now, all this fuss about wines, you know, we want to make wines approachable. We want to, with this education, you know, you can teach the people. Sometimes, yes, why not? Save some money, get a nice bottle of wine, enjoy it. There is tools like your 𝐸𝐴 and stuff that the wines can last you in the fridge for several days, if not weeks. But
I think the market is changing, Nino. So if I go back to when my father used to make wine in, say, 80s, 90s, it was quantity over quality. Nowadays, I think it's pretty much changed, and now it's quality over quantity, myself included. I don't drink copious amounts of wine. I think even wine importers in the 70s and 80s used to drink a lot of wine. Nowadays, people don't drink the same volumes of wine, but we drink much better quality of wine. I think internationally, the quality of wine has improved, Malta included. But people would prefer buying one bottle of wine that's 30 euros and enjoying that than buying 3 bottles of wine at 10 euros each. And you're going to enjoy it more, it's healthier, and you don't suffer from that headache the next day.
We recently had a meeting at one of the places where you have your wine tastings, wine pairing events. Do you do that a lot?
At the moment, I do that once a month.
Once a month?
Once a month. So I team up with the chef, and we speak about the wines that I want to present. Then we get into the actual tasting notes, we taste the wines together, and we discuss what menu would work with the wine. So it's actually very wine inspired. It's the wine that comes first, and then the food that kind of supports the wine. So the wine shines. And during the tasting, then I speak a little bit about the wine. I get a little bit into the history of the wine, but it's very short. I don't get too technical. It's not a class.
Yes.
More of an enjoyable.
Do you want to just educate people briefly that they know what they're drinking with which food they're getting?
Yes,
That's it.
and the feedback is great, because so many people come back to me and say, you know, I've really enjoyed this. The wine was of such good quality. It works perfectly with the dish, and sometimes we get that wrong, and we realize, it could make such a big difference. The amount of wines there are around the world is crazy. The competition is nuts, which at the end of the day, it's the consumer that wins. It's us that win, because quality needs to keep getting better and better, because you need to outshine your next door neighbor. So
competition.
Yep, I mean, Maltese wines have improved. I would say French wines have improved. Internationally, the quality has improved so much. When back in the day we used to have a bad vintage, I'm pretty sure that the bad vintages, or we call them bad vintages nowadays, are the good vintages of yesteryear. And that's how much wine has improved. So we're lucky to be in this time where wine is
We'll be around
improving.
for quite a lot of time, but
I hope I have a few more left.
few more years
left.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, I know that you're a lover of all the world wines, French especially, and then Italian following. But you are venturing into Australia and New Zealand as well.
Very much so.
Can you tell us something about that? What do you getting? How many wines do you get? How many brands do you get?
So I don't get too many brands. I represent at the moment around 8 to 10 houses, of which pretty much, I would say 60% are classic or old world and 40% are new world. So I've got Australian, I've got a lot of Australian and New Zealand. At the moment I work a lot with 𝐀𝐬𝐲 range, which is a New Zealand top-end premium brand. Their Sauvignon Blanc is actually from Martinborough, not from Marlborough.
They
and
have
that makes
several
it very
wineries.
interesting. Yes, so they've got Hawke's Bay, they've got Martinborough, Gisborne. So they've got quite a few wineries. They're quite a big quite a big brand. But I find that their prices are somewhat reasonable. They didn't get silly, so you still get, you know, good bang for your buck. And their quality is fantastic. Irrelevant of the international rating, so they are getting rated very well by international critics. But the funny thing is, I discovered this winery. I had imported some mixed cases of wine a couple of years ago, and this Sauvignon Blanc from Craggy Range was in this mixed case. So I, you know, tried it, not knowing what it was, and this thing just blew my mind. I said, "This is
Experiments. That is a lovely thing you make.
And that is what wine is all about. At the end of the day, you know, brands are there. When you hear of a brand and you taste the wine, you already have some preconception. It might be a misconception, but you already have some expectation. When you get the wine, you have no idea what to expect, and it blows your mind. And you're like, okay, now this is.
You're really testing it. You know, you take it sip by sip, very small sips. You know,
Yes.
try to see what it is.
Yes.
How it
Yes, this is an interesting story. So it's a German owner, and it's from a place called 𝐻𝐬𝐿, which is south of Bordeaux. It's a good hour and a half from Bordeaux. And when I was approached to import this wine, my initial reaction was, 𝐻𝐬𝐿, Bordeaux blend. How am I ever going to sell it? It has to be really good. And in all honesty, I wasn't really interested till I tasted the wine. And once I tasted the wine, I said, whether I can sell it or not, I want it. This is really
I'll keep
good
it
fun.
for myself.
I'll keep it for myself. Nobody wants it, I'll drink it myself. I have no doubt that this is a good quality wine, and the price-quality ratio was even better.
Before we continue, let's try the Chablis. Wow. So, even the bottles. This is a replica of the bottles from 17th or 18th century.
18th century.
Yes.
Well done. That's it. It's a replica of the 18th century bottles that they have, and that is a testament to their history. There we go. The Chablis and Chablis, you know. So this is premium Chablis. Chablis is a region, and we forget sometimes that there are different qualities of Chablis. So there's Chablis Premier Cru and Chablis Grand Cru. But these guys came up with something a little bit different to your tradition.
They got vineyards in both regions.
So they have vineyards in both Premier Cru and the Grand Cru. And he said, I've got 7 Grand Cru vineyards, 5 Premier Cru vineyards. The best of those vineyards I'm going to blend together to make my special cuvée, a cuvée for me, a cuvée that I feel is my style. So this is a blend of just Premier Cru and Grand Cru vineyards in his typical 18th century bottle, which is a testament to his history.
As mentioning before, this is a replica of 17th or 18th century
18th
bottle.
century, yeah.
So, and even though the previous wine that we tried, it's also in the
in the same
bottle, same shape
style, exactly this flask type of style. And this is also another wine that can age without oak, or very little second-hand oak, but that's between us. So, what do you think of the wine? It's got power, it's got structure, and it's still extremely fresh, which is what we need on a warm afternoon like today.
We were discussing, shall we test first Chablis or Pouilly Fumé? But you were right. Pouilly Fumé is more acidic. This has more balance to it.
Yeah, it's
well
broader.
balanced wine.
It's broader. It's
yes.
got more richness. It's got a lot of structure to it. Yes.
As you said,
very
it's
much
not
so.
oaky, but it's still.
You also get the lees, so the lee stirring comes through, and you can tell that there's a lot of structure behind it.
For how long it's fermented on the lees?
So this is fermented on the lees for around 6 months as well. So similar to the Pouilly Fumé, but this now we're speaking Chardonnay. So very different to the Sauvignon Blanc. The Chardonnay has much more richness to it.
I believe the France has the best terroir for Chardonnay, even though in Malta it's completely different wine that we are getting from Chardonnay grapes, as everywhere in the world.
Very much so.
But this particular region, I mean, it's unbeatable, man.
Chablis,
even their
Chablis.
history, even their tradition of making wine.
For sure. And as I was saying before, it's fun to discover new wines. It's fun to discover new grapes. But sometimes I find myself going on a journey of discovery and coming back. And then I go on a journey of discovery again and I come back. But I always keep coming back to the greats. The greats will always be there, and they always give me that enjoyment, and it's part of history. And for me, that is probably part of my journey in wine. And most wine people want to go off on this journey and then end up coming back to classic regions like Chablis or Bordeaux.
There is some people who are always, like you said before, you know, I like this wine and I'm drinking only this wine. If you don't try the others, you won't even appreciate that wine as much as you are. So
very, very much so. And a story I like to say is, I find that wine is, to a certain extent, it's an acquired taste. Myself included, I didn't start liking mature Rieslings or mature Bordeaux. If I never tasted it, I never knew what I expected to taste. So when I was studying for my exams, when I was doing my WSET exams and I was learning a lot about wines, I had some blind tastings, so I was practicing at home. I got a very old, mature, I think it was a Israeli Chardonnay. It was an 8-year-old Israeli Chardonnay, fantastic wine. But the first few glasses, I wasn't even sure whether the wine was good or not. Is it supposed to taste like this? Okay. Funny story is, after about 3/4 of the bottle, I decided that the wine was good.
there is, once you're tasting the wine, it's many influences there. I mean, you could have a chewing gum before, you could have a different food, you could have some sparkling water which will actually destroy your palate before you taste the wine. That's why I'm keeping to still. So, you know, in an essence, when you're tasting the wine, if you don't taste the wines, different ones, you don't know what you like actually, what you're after.
For sure. And take note. This is what I suggest to you. Take note of what you like. So if you've tasted a bottle of wine, you're at a restaurant, you chose a bottle of wine, you tasted it, you enjoyed it, take a note. I like this wine. Go for something similar. See what other grapes are similar in style.
Or commit it to the phone memory.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. That is where apps come in handy.
We started talking earlier about wine investment. And you're among the first people that I heard of that is doing this thing on the island. And can you tell us why wine and how in the world the wine is worth on investment, and how is that an investment? Can you like educate us a bit?
So for me to make money in selling to super yachts, I understood which wines are in demand by super yachts. Once you start realizing what wines are in demand by super yachts, then you start realizing which wines are in demand by high net worth individuals. So if a wine is in demand and it's rare to find, the price is going to go up. It's very simple. It's a very simple supply versus demand. And that is wine investment. If the supply is small and the demand is high, the price is going to go up. So I would say most wines are not investment worthy, but then there are those wines that have the capability of aging, and with age they increase in value. They increase in value because the supply is decreasing. I've made a wine, I've made 3,000 bottles. After these 3,000 bottles, I've sold them all. That vintage is over. I can never make another of these 3,000 bottles from that very vintage. So you've got a finite value, 3,000 bottles. They're sold at a certain price. 5 years down the line, those 3,000 bottles are now 2,500 bottles, because 500 bottles have been drunk. So the supply has reduced, but the demand has remained the same, if not increased, because now it's a better vintage to drink. And that is where my idea for wine investments came up. So if I can pinpoint which wines are going to increase in value and the supply is going to keep low, then it's going to be an investment-worthy wine, subject to you storing it in the right place.
You heard it, guys, you know. Drop your bitcoins and invest in wine.
Actually, I did a bit of investments with stocks and shares, Bitcoin, and the return on investment can be super. It can be better than wines, but I didn't enjoy it as much as wines, and I think that is the key to wine investment. Wine investment is a journey. It is not just to make a quick buck. I buy a case of 6 bottles. Let's make it 2 cases. 2 cases of 3 bottles. A case of 3 bottles for me to drink. I am enjoying to drink my investment. And a case of 3 bottles to sell off. It is an experience. And if you've invested, if you've bought a case of Chateau Latour, you've bought a case of Romano Conti, whatever you bought, go to that vineyard. You've bought a case of their wine. Go there, experience it, drink it with your friends. You are drinking a part of history, and you've invested in it. Nothing better than a passion investment.
When we are talking about that, you go to the winery. What is your favorite winery?
That's a question that falls within which is my favorite wine. Unfortunately, it is something I think most wine people cannot answer.
Okay.
My
what
taste
you were
has
impressed
changed.
with? The most impressed?
The most impressed. I think wines or wineries impress me at different stages. So my taste in wine changes, and what impresses me changes. What impressed me 10 years ago is not what impresses me today. And I think as a person, I appreciate different wineries. So I enjoyed going to a winery where everything was tiny. It was, the owner was also the winemaker, and we tasted wines from the barrel. Then we went into his kitchen and cooked a plate of pasta bolognese. And for me, that was impressive because this is it. This is what it's all about. But then you can also go to a place like Chateau Margaux, where it's beautiful in its history. It's maybe a little bit ostentatious and grand and
industrial
to a certain extent, but there's a lot of history behind it. So I can appreciate a bit of both. I find it very difficult to choose one over the other, I must admit. Difficult question, Nino, sorry.
I wanted to touch the base with the trends in wine.
Trends in wine.
So what is your opinion about it? I mean, let us come to the point that so far we deducted that in Malta trends are fresh, sparkling, different flavored wines, lighter.
I think Malta's passing through a bit of a, I don't know whether to say a crisis, but Malta's passing through a strange time in wine. So I personally feel that we are, I'll make myself clear, the quality of wine in Malta is good. We have very good quality local wine. We have very good quality international wines that are imported to Malta. So as a variety of wines that you find in Malta, I think we are most of the countries would be jealous of the variety of wines we get to Malta. That I can guarantee you, because superyachts come up with any crazy request.
Can you imagine?
But then, as a people, myself included, as locals, we fall behind in trends. We get stuck on something. I think the Maltese palate likes sweetness. This is something that I've discovered along the way, and the Maltese like that residual sugar in wine, which is very different to what the British like, for example, or the French or the Germans, the Nordic. They like wines that don't have residual sugar. In Malta, we like the Primitivos, the Nero d'Avolas, the New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc. It has a lot of fruit and it has that sweetness at the end, and we like that sweetness. Now, I'm not saying those wines aren't good, but we tend to struggle to move away from that, and that's, I think, is a bit of a block to the Maltese, to the local person, to the Maltese person. We're very much stuck on that sweetness. We need to continue exploring. I mean, Maltese foods are fantastic with Pinot Noirs. We mentioned Gamay, Sauvignon Blanc. In winter, we can go for the Chardonnay. But really,
not all the food. I mean, mentioning the foods, I like Braciole and I like it.
Then you can have a nice big bowl. Absolutely. But why are we stuck on always the same grapes? that is something I think we need
Eventually,
to
the
we need to get
winemakers
on.
are working on that. I mean, I'm sure
Absolutely.
we get some insights from people are experimenting. Younger generation is taking over the fields. The problem is that there is not working hands. The problem is the workforce. The people are not inclined to work. Everybody wants to go digital. Everybody wants to. The trends are what they are. But we are turning away from the bold wines. I'm seeing that many people are now in demand Prosecco, Champagne. You know, affordability levels. Cava.
For sure. We do look for wines that are affordable, and I think everybody looks for wines that have this PQR, this price quality ratio. It has to fall within your budget, and it needs to maybe punch above its weight. So if you're spending 20 euros, you want a certain level, you want a certain quality. We're not happy with those, you know, 5-8 euro wines that we had before. Now we want something of a different quality, and that also brings me back to what we were discussing before. Wine is an acquired taste. The better quality wine you drink, the better quality wine you're going to want to drink. So you start realizing, you start seeing the difference between wines that are not of a top quality and wines that are of a top quality, and that's when you go back to say, now I see the difference. But it's a journey.
That is the taste. If you don't taste the bad, you don't know why good is so good.
For sure.
Or if you don't taste the good, you wouldn't know for the better. So it's like two-edged sword, man. But you need to pass that journey, as you said. You know, it's a journey.
It's a journey. It's a journey of discovery. And I think speaking to people in the trade will only help your journey of discovery. So speak to winemakers, speak to professional, you know, wine importers, wine shops. That's how you're gonna get the knowledge, and tasting, of course.
So when do you conduct your next tasting? We're not gonna mention the place and the time, but how soon?
Oh, it's the end of this month, the end of October. In all honesty, I think we're fully booked. That's a good thing. So I'm happy about that. We've also got a wine fair at the end of October, which I'm hosting with another 5 importers. And this is exactly what we're trying to do. We're trying to get people to come and discover different wines. So what we're planning is, as 5 wine importers, we're going to have 5 taster glasses of 5 different wines. And when you purchase the ticket, you purchase a ticket for all 5 glasses. So you're going to taste a minimum of 5 wines. You go to a wine fair, buy 1 bottle, drink 1 bottle of wine. It's not a wine fair. You haven't tasted anything. You've tasted 1 wine. So we're giving people the opportunity to buy tickets, to buy 5 taster glasses. Hopefully we won't get too drunk by the end of it.
What do you have in store for us?
I've decided to go for something different, because we've got 2 big brands before. So now we're going to go for, do you remember the German guy I mentioned who managed to woo me into buying his wines?
We got Pinot Noir last time.
Yes. This is from a place south of Bordeaux called 𝐿𝐼𝐻𝐿. In all honesty, 𝐿𝐼𝐻𝐿 wines are usually a little bit on the rustic side. These guys, I think they're fun. So this is 100% Cap Franc, which is maybe not so usual. Guess what the owner's favorite wine is? Chateau Cheval Blanc, 100% Cap Franc. So he obviously had to make. You kind of understand a little bit people's personality. His personality comes out in this. And what's more interesting is it's 2012. It's got a little bit of age on it. So I think it's very terroir driven. I think it's got this beautiful spiciness to it, which you get because at the end of the day, it's a little bit warmer than Bordeaux. Very small winery. We're speaking 3,000 bottles in a vintage.
3,100 to be precise.
3,100 to be precise. Is this an investment wine? No. It's true there are only 3,000 bottles. Is the demand the same like Chateau Cheval Blanc? No. So I wouldn't invest in this wine, but this is a wine that you know you're gonna get top quality. So this is the wine that I would buy, which has that price quality ratio.
And you keep it for yourself.
Oh, this is what I keep for myself. This is what I drink on a random Sunday.
So
tell me what you think.
Big fruit.
Beautiful fruit.
Big fruit.
But it's balanced. It's got that softness. You got the spice that already starts coming out. Gorgeous.
Deep
Chilled
cherry
slightly.
and slightly saltiness on the.
The salinity comes out. I like savory things. Probably this is one of the reasons why I love this wine. It's got this slight
And
saltiness.
very long aftertaste. This would
Very
go
much so.
amazing with many different foods.
Yep, absolutely.
What is the next in store for Vintage 82? This is something that I'm more interested in because you're targeting local market.
Yes.
We mentioned that yachting business. We mentioned the wine financing. Tell us about Vintage 82. You didn't make a big hype in the local restaurants. You're keeping it
very low key. And the restaurants, I do sell to restaurants. I sell to restaurants and I sell to wine shops as well. But I'm very selective on who I sell to. So I don't sell to any supermarkets or let's say run-of-the-mill outlets. Even restaurants, I've chosen mainly the Michelin star restaurants and the high-end restaurants because my wines are on the premium side. And Vintage 82 as a concept is premium. I cannot. It's not a blanket market. I cannot target everyone. So I kept it to a niche.
very niche.
Yeah. So I target super yachts, which is extremely high end, Michelin star restaurants and high end restaurants, where places where I know they're gonna store my wines well. I know they're going to know the story behind the wine. They're going to know the grape. They're going to understand quality. So when they sell the wine, they know what they are selling. I don't want my wine to be in any random shop that's in the shop window. Sun is directly on it. Nino comes along and goes, oh, what's this wine? Very interesting. You buy it. It's been stored badly. And you think, no, not a good wine. Of course, it hasn't been stored well. So I'm being very selective on who I'm selling to. But there is a little secret I can tell you. We should be opening an outlet pretty soon. So
Nice.
stay peeled on that.
You're gonna invite us, I see.
Of course. You'll be the first on my list.
Thank you.
And we'll share a nice bottle of wine together.
Something nice is coming your way as well. I heard that you're getting some new brands as well.
I am getting new brands. Absolutely. We're getting some.
We keep it hush for now.
For sure. We're getting some very interesting wines. Always premium. For me, that is the benchmark.
When we look in the collection that you have, what is the most hidden gem? What is something that you really, even from finance perspective, like to keep for yourself and boast about it, or not say the world about this wine, keep it, drink it on your own?
It's a difficult question, for the simple reason that my tastes have been changing. I think at the moment, because I can speak what I'm into at the moment. So before I mentioned Gamay Beaujolais, and coincidentally that's the wine over there. So it's a Chateau de Bachelard, which is the third one from my side. Shall I go and get it?
Moulin à Vent, yes, sure.
Yeah, so this is the Moulin à Vent. And again, I discovered this wine. It wasn't a wine that was given to me on a silver plate. So it's from a very underrated region, and that is why I find it really exciting. It is 100% biodynamic, and this is done by a producer called Alexandra de Vazay. She's a countess, and she used to work at Chateau Latour. We all know Chateau Latour, and she learned oak integration. They let her go. She bought her own vineyard, and she learned oak integration from Chateau Latour. She uses much less oak in this, but these wines have the finesse, in my opinion, they have the finesse of Burgundy and the structure of Rhone Valley. It's got this beautiful play on structure and finesse, and I think this is where we're going. This is the future. Price-wise, 30 euros a bottle. Which 30 euros you get an entry-level Pinot Noir. Gamay, you get with 30 euros, you got a super premium Beaujolais. This is Moulin à Vent. 3,800 bottles. Again, a very, very small production. She also has a little vineyard called 𝐀𝐧𝐝 𝐻𝐿, and she only makes about 1,500 bottles just from that vineyard. Priced a little bit more, but the quality is insane. That is my little secret, which...
We'll try it some other time.
Don't tell too many people.
The day is too short.
The day is too short. But we will try it another time.
Maybe we cut it from the show, we don't know.
I liken this. You know how I would describe this? I would describe this as that beautiful ballerina. So when you look at a ballerina, she's beautiful and she's elegant and soft, but she's all muscle. So it's got that power and strength, but you don't see power and strength. You just feel it. And you realize, for me, that's a ballerina. You have to try this, Nino. We'll be trying this soon.
I don't mind testing it, but usually I prefer drinking the wine, you know, because you can get all the finesse out of it, you know. Just testing it and spitting back, sometimes it loses one portion of the... it's not necessity at the point.
Yes, I kind of got used to it a little bit from all the tastings, but yeah, it's quite sad when you do spit out the wine, isn't it?
Yeah, true. There is something in that finishing touch, you know, that even how it reacts with the food in your stomach, how it makes you feel, how it makes you bring you that energy back, you know.
Yeah.
It's difficult.
And that's why I think food needs wine.
Okay. Cheers.
Cheers, Nino.
Thank you for coming and joining us for this episode of
I really enjoyed it.
I'm sure that this will not be the last time we see you here. And let's see a bit of this lovely surrounding. Let's have a brisk walk and see the marina.
For sure. Thanks for having me, Nino. I enjoyed this. Well done.
Welcome.
Thank you.